Well, hi everybody, this is Dub, Paranormal Video Gamer, and this is my review of the HD PVR 2 Gaming Edition Plus. Um, I honestly, when I was getting ready to do this review, I wanted to go through not just the stats and the game that you're watching right now itself, but I wanted to talk, openly and honestly about my experiences with this compared to the Elgato. A lot of people had told me when I was looking for a recorder, a new capture card recorder for YouTube, that I should go with that particular brand. And I found myself probably up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, looking up not just reviews, but, YouTube videos. I went, I typed in both devices, and I found personally that a lot of the people that were doing reviews on the products had interesting things to say. So I'll start with the Elgato that a lot of people told me to get, and there was one that was 60 frames per second. I don't remember the model number, so if you do know the model number, please feel free to put a comment, and I'll try to see if I can remember if that's the one after looking through a couple pictures. But a couple people made suggestions on it was the 60 frames per second device that I should go get, and I looked at price wise, and honestly, between the two devices, I didn't really see much of a difference. If I remember correctly, the Elgato system was about $10 or maybe $6 more expensive than the HD PVR 2 Gaming Edition Plus. So that really wasn't a factor for me. To me, it was, okay, how does the device perform under pressure? Does the software freeze whenever it's recording? And I found myself asking those questions over and over and over and over again until I got to the point where I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to look at both devices, get a general feel for both devices, and then make my decision. So I made the decision what I was going to go get, and I asked all you people on YouTube if you guys could watch my videos to kind of help me out, and eventually it came to the point where I was able to save up enough money to get the HD PVR 2. And I have to say, from personal experience, it is the best purchase that I made. What you're watching right here on the screen is actually WWE 13, and it's right now playing at 720, 60 frames per second. The device can actually do 1080p, but unfortunately, it can only handle about 30 frames per second. I read a couple people said that they were able to get it up to 45 frames per second, but I don't know if that's the actual truth or if they've done some sort of modification. But on mine, it only gets to about 30 to 31 frames per second, according to the video codec that I used when I was using Handbrake to basically get the video gigs down. A lot of people use Handbrake because when you're recording video, especially if you're doing a 30-minute video, 40-minute video, it can take 3, 4, 6 gigs depending on how many Mbps you're actually using. Right now, I'm running at about 9,000, which is at the max that my laptop can handle. And even though it can only handle that amount, it still looks fantastic. I have had no complaints with this purchase at all. And I'm very happy with the experience. The software, it can be a little clunky when you first start off using it because, I didn't understand all the fancy advanced settings and the easy stream, or stream ease, I should say, thing that they included with the software. But after a while, after a couple days, I sat and I thought to myself, okay, I think I got this. It took me a few days, again, to get used to the software, understand its functions, understand what it's going to do, what it can't do, its limitations. Even with the Elgato, there were massive limitations, and that's one of the things that when I bought this device, I didn't want to be too limited on creating video game, stuff. So I didn't want to worry about the frame rate dropping. I didn't want to worry about the software freezing, and then I would have to reset the whole device. A bunch of people told me that when you're using the Elgato, this is a common problem, that the software will freeze while you're recording. Now with the HD PVR 2, I have not had that issue. Now, I have played a couple games where it was actually my Xbox that froze, but not the PVR. The PVR was still recording. The Xbox had actually frozen, and I had to stop the recording because it was the game is completely frozen. There was nothing I could do. There's one video that I did, I think it's on my Paranormal Video Gamer channel, of Doom 3 Collector's Edition, and I was playing it, and I got maybe, I don't know, 5% into the game, 6% into the game, and it literally froze at this one spot, and I knew it was either one or the other that froze, and I was pleasantly surprised to find out that it actually was my Xbox that decided to freeze. And it's just because it's an older game, and my Xbox is an older Xbox, unfortunately. So what you get in the box, you get, there's three, I got three HDMI cables. I'm assuming that this is not something that normally happens because I was told you're only supposed to get two, but I got three in the box, actually. I actually, when I was doing my unboxing, I took out two cords by accident, and did not realize, because my hands are pretty big, I did not realize that there was actually three HDMI in the box. So that was a nice surprise. Even though I have a bunch of HDMI, they gave me an extra one. I don't know why, but I mean that was a nice little Christmas present because, as a lot of you know, when you have an HDMI cord, sometimes they do break and then they short out and then you have to replace them. I've been probably through, I'm going to say, two HDMI cords probably in the past year because they were not made well. The quality on the HDMI cord was not the best in the world. Now let's talk graphics with the HDMI and the HD PVR2. When you're hooking up the device, the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure everything is off. You don't want this thing on when you are hooking up everything. I was told that when you're doing that, you can, not damage the device, but I mean your TV will kind of freak out for a couple seconds because it's trying to pick up a signal. And a couple people, warned me ahead of time that, if you don't have the greatest TV, it could, basically, blow out your TV or something like that. And I just as a precaution, I would recommend if you're going to hook up the HD PVR2, turn off everything, make sure everything's unplugged, and then make sure your TV's unplugged, or not unplugged but turned off, and then you hook up everything, and then after you turn on your system, then you can turn on your TV to make sure that the PVR is working. A lot of people asked me on Facebook, why did you decide to go with the HD PVR2 Gaming Edition Plus rather than the other HD PVR2? I went with Plus because of the fact that I wanted, again, not to be limited on what I could and couldn't do, and that included sound. So if I decided to have a bunch of my buddies over and I can record stereo sound with microphones, I wanted to be able to do that and have that option to do it. And right now, as you're hearing my voice, I'm actually talking through the Xbox controller that I have, and not a microphone that I have hooked up in front of the computer. But as you can see, it runs beautifully at 720p, 60 frames per second. I've had no complaints in terms of the graphical limitations. I've had no complaints when it comes down to the actual, freezing of the software. And to me, this was definitely one of the best purchases that I can safely say that I'm, very happy about. I went from the EasyCap system, EasyCap capture card, to this device, and I looked into Elgato. A good friend of mine, he let me actually come over to his house and play with it for a couple hours, and there were very big notable differences. And the first that I noticed that the Elgato's case, it's more of a best way to describe it. It looked like a square, but it was a more stretched out square. This device that he had was probably about a foot long and not very wide. Compared to the HD PVR2, it probably will fit in the palm of your hand. Most people, I've got bigger hands, so for me, I can literally almost put it in my hand and then put my fingers over the top of it. There is something too that I also kind of liked about this compared to the Elgato. The Elgato, you actually had to go to your computer, hook up your computer, make sure everything was on, make sure the software was up and running, and then you had to hit record. This, the HD PVR2, the gaming edition, now I don't know about the regular ones, but the gaming edition does something that I really loved. And it's the button on the very top of the HD PVR2. If you press it, it records everything that you're doing from that moment. And what I really loved about it, when you press the button, if you've got the computer open, you necessarily don't have the software open. You press the button, about 30 seconds in, after pressing the button, it opens up the software on your laptop, on your computer, automatically, and within, I'm gonna say not even 15-20 seconds later, after it opens up the software, it starts recording right away. Now, when I did the test with the Elgato, there was no way to, start recording without having to open up the software and actually hit the record button. And that's one of the things that I really loved about this particular device, is that I could do that. That was something that was one of the really big selling points for me, is that convenience and ease of use. This is very simple out of the box, very easy to use, and I highly recommend it. So pick yourself up one. You will absolutely love it. I love it. I think it's a fantastic device. So it gets, out of 5 stars, it gets 5 out of 5 from me. And as you could see from the recording, from the video quality, it gets 5 out of 5 for that. And as for the sound quality, 5 out of 5 for that as well. And the software itself, again, a little confusing, nothing major. It takes a little bit of time to get used to. I'm going to go 4.5 out of 5, just because, it can be a pain trying to understand what the advanced settings are. I mean, you really have to go on Google and, do searches, or, go on YouTube and look for videos that have, what this setting is, what this setting does, and, so on and so forth. But overall, 5 out of 5 for me, and thank you for watching this video review.